Grace. Thanks for coming on our series of Westonka stories today.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
Grace, how did your family happen to come to live in Navarre?
In a roundabout way. In 1930, I was born on D-Day, June 6th of that year. So in late May, my parents boarded a train to come to Minneapolis from Ohio, where they lived and worked. They arrived here, and my father got word that the bank he did his business with in Cleveland Heights had closed. So after my birth, he had to scoot back there, and he lost everything. And so the next 6 years, I lived with my grandparents and my Uncle Nat at Fort Snelling. And my dad would find work wherever he could. He designed tombstones and cut granite and marble. And so in those days, nobody had money. There was no Social Security or any help. And when someone died in the family, you didn't have the wherewithal to erect the usual tombstone. So his work was very cut back. And he thought, you know, people are always going to need food. So he started looking for a grocery store. And he found the one in Navarre. So he purchased it, and we moved there on Halloween night, 1936.
Wow, Halloween night. Was it already winter?
It was very cold. The snow hadn't come yet, but it came soon after that. And it was a total difference of life. Number one, I hadn't ever lived with my parents. And because my mother was with me whenever she could be. And if my father was at a place for a while, she'd go and be with him there. So I did call my dad Sir for quite a while. One of the questions you asked was, how was life in Navarre in those days? Well, for us, this was a brand new experience. It was exciting. I think that's the word I want to use. And we were all now in business together. And that was a whole new thing for us. We lived over the store. It was built into the side of a very steep hill. And so when you entered the front door of the store, in the back of the store, there was a door. And it went up 2 flights. And it was all open with the stairway going along one wall and then the other, and then another one, like a U. And when you came out at the top floor, it was an L-shaped enclosed porch. And the living part was inside that. It was very different. And if we went outside, the hill is still going up. And the big thing that was new to all 3 of us, we had never experienced an outdoor toilet. And so here is, you come out the door, you go down a few steps, and the hill is going up. And over on the left corner of this hill is the outdoor biffy. And coming down an angle from the other side is a path that's coming down the hill, crossing the path from our house to the outside biffy. And this path at the top of the hill levels off and goes back to what is now called Livingston Avenue. In those days, we didn't have signs and street names. It was called, jokingly, Maternity Avenue.
I see.
And there was a woods right there on one side, and the other was the Badors, our neighbors, had their home, because the ground leveled off the top of the hill there. Now, there was always someone coming down that path. It had been a public path for so long, you legally couldn't close it. And we had the only drinking water in Navarre. And the pump was located on the left side of our store, and hence why that path got worn through.
Hmm.
So people could, and they came at all hours of day and night
Oh
and
my.
pumped their water to take home. So
So you grew up as an only child?
my father said he had two only children. My sister was born many years after I was,
I see.
and she was 5 when we left Navarre.
Hmm.
But
So when you came to Navarre, where did you go to school?
oh, can I show you a picture now?
You may.
Okay. I went to Spring Park School.
Hmm.
This school
So
is so
which grades did you go to at Spring Park School?
all 4, first and second, third and fourth,
Hmm.
a 2-room. And now I know it's the police department in Spring Park. And you know, the middle of the building is the 2 front doors. And the room over here and the room over here were separated and made a hall by 2 walls that rolled down like a desktop would. It was beautiful. It was, and I don't think that moved with them.
So then this grocery store, the building that you were living in and the business was happening, I understand was right on the railroad tracks.
It was right alongside.
Mm-hmm.
And the railroad tracks, right across the railroad tracks, immediately was the road going down to Crystal Bay and the Lake Road. They've changed that now.
Mm-hmm.
And it extends farther down 19 before it loops back and goes down.
Mm-hmm.
My bedroom window overlooked the lake.
Ah, that's a nice view.
It was. To this day, I still need water to see.
So in the Navarre book, it talks a little about the grocery store and the fact that the grocery store was open from very early until very late, 7 days a week.
Yep.
So were you working in the grocery store anytime that you were not in school?
All the time. I've worked since I was 6.
Wow. It sounds like it was quite a gathering place.
It was a community place. It was the post office and the county library, and the only payphone in town. A lot of people didn't have phones in those days.
Mm-hmm.
And the first sale my dad made on the day we opened, he came running upstairs immediately after and said he sold 1 rasher of bacon and 1 egg.
Oh
And
my.
he said at this rate, we're not going to be here very long. Because people would come in before every meal to buy. So we had someone coming in constantly.
From those early days when you were growing up there, do you remember other businesses in Navarre?
Yes, Jackson's Corner, of course. And the Jacksons at that time lived right up 3 houses away from us at the top of the hill, alongside. There was a hill behind our store, and then right along the tracks was another hill, which they have a road on now, which surprised me when I discovered that.
Sure.
So the Jacksons were there, and
they had a cafe, is that right?
they had a gas station on the corner, and they owned all the land from the corner quite a ways back. I would say to where the movie theater ended up, the outdoor movie theater.
Really?
And Henry had the gas station, and Irene, Peggy, Dorothy, and Patty were one family, and they had the restaurant. And the other was Henry, Clara, Wayne, Carol Ann, and Tony, who was nicknamed Stonewall Jackson.
I see.
So they built the 2 new houses, that the first new building any of us had ever seen. And they moved in from the White House 3 doors away on the top of the hill, and moved into their new homes. And they're there yet today.
Wow.
I remember Peggy took I and Joanne Schomburg, another neighbor, in when one house had gotten to the point they were putting carpeting down. And so we were to take off our shoes and go in and shuffle
I
and
see.
then touch the electric outlet, get a shock. Oh, I
Oh,
tell you, we were so excited. So it was a wonderful place to grow up.
Mm.
We had such freedom as children that you just don't have anymore.
That's wonderful. Do you remember as a youngster what you wanted to be when you grew up?
Oh, I wanted to be an artist.
Mm.
And 42, 3, and 4, I and Joanne Schomburg and Jill Jones, Thelma's daughter, would get the bus every morning. And we went to school at the Walker Art Institute.
Did you?
Yes. And it was a great place to study art.
I'm sure
But
that's
when they were a teaching school.
Mhm. Interesting. So to go back a little earlier, after you finished at Spring Park School, then 7th grade, let's see,
No, 5th.
5th grade.
We went to
Where'd you go
Mount
in 5th grade?
Elementary.
Oh, to Mount Elementary.
Mhm.
And you were in that building 5th grade, 6th grade, and
7th
then
grade.
did you go across the street?
We didn't have to go across the street. It was
Oh.
already, they had built the new high school
They'd built the new high school.
and attached it to the elementary school. So we just went down the hall.
Sure. So I know in your story that your family then moved before you graduated from high school.
Yes, yes. And I went to Roosevelt for one day when we first moved, the fall of 46. And I came home crying and it was just too much for me to handle.
Mm.
I mean, it was so big. And the stairways were humongous. And they had designated certain stairways that you went up only and certain ones you went down only.
I
And that
see.
whole day I was on the wrong stairway. And
Oh,
so
dear.
my dad paid for me to board and room and stay in Mount.
So then what part of town were you boarding in?
Navarre.
Oh, in Navarre. So
I spent a month at the Noreen's. I spent a month at the Petersons. I spent a month at the Joneses,
mhm.
and kind of spread my joy around.
Well, that's wonderful that you had that year of transition.
Yes.
So the class that you would have graduated with would have been 48, I understand. Is that right?
Yes. Yes.
And the last year that you were in school, while you were living in Navarre, you were going to school in Mound, would have been 46. Is that right?
Yes. And I think part of 47, but I'm not sure anymore.
Well, I have to tell you that I found your photograph.
You did? Oh.
In 1945 annual. Whoop.
Oh.
1945.
Okay.
And it's a group picture, everyone in your class.
Oh.
And we'll take this over to the studio so that they can take a picture.
Oh, wonderful.
You are in the bottom picture here.
And I've never seen that.
So I'll bring it and show it to you as well.
Oh, thank you very much.
I had another question about your parents. Wondering if you had family traditions that you did as a family that had come down from either your mom's family or your dad's family.
Yes. My father loved to celebrate holidays. Christmas, Easter, Thanksgiving. And in the middle of our store was a huge display table that had sides around to hold the contents in. And instead of having groceries in 2 weeks before each holiday, he would decorate. And he always had to add something special each year. And people, were accustomed to looking in to see Henry's new display.
Oh, fun.
And
So
he
perhaps
continued.
maybe you got some of your art interest from your dad.
He was a very good artist.
Hmm.
And he kept a diary
Huh?
every day. He had good penmanship, which I never acquired. And so I have one of his diaries yet. So it's a treasure.
So did you go on to do more art after high school?
I did. And I ended up getting a job immediately. I mean, we graduated on a Friday night. Monday, I had a job.
Oh my goodness.
I
And
know.
what were you doing?
My first job was for Packard Motor Car Company.
Hmm.
And I was secretary to the chief supply person.
Mm-hmm.
And this was right after the Second World War,
Mm-hmm.
and everyone was hungry for a car.
I suppose.
Yes. And while I worked there, I got an offer to work for Mid-Continent Airlines, one of our pioneer airlines.
Hmm.
And so I decided that might be fun.
Oh.
So I went in 1949 to work for them.
Hmm.
And then I spent 2 years with my husband in the service, and I was made a civilian attached to the military.
Huh.
So I worked for the Hospital Red Cross. I was in the USO. And then they moved me on base in the women's BLQ.
Wow.
And so it turned out I was in the same battalion Larry was in. So I got to move when he did. He was up and down the East Coast protecting us from the Russians. So. And then when I came home, Mid-Continent Airlines had become Braniff Airlines. And I went to have lunch one day, and I didn't come home. I stayed and worked.
Oh my goodness.
So I worked till my daughter was born 6 years later.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Super. And
yes.
your daughter's name is?
My first daughter is Robin, and my second is Lark.
One of the questions that an interviewee suggested I should be asking had to do with people who might have influenced your life. Was there someone in your life that inspired you to be an artist?
My father, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was in first grade, and our teacher was Annie Palmer. She was awesome. I loved Annie Palmer. And I got an award from the state. In fact, I had it until this last move. And so this was kind of a big thing. It had a nice ribbon on it and so forth. And I think that inspired my family to think, oh, she might have some talent.
So was it for your artwork, the award?
Yes, that I did in first or second grade.
Wonderful. I wonder if you still have it somewhere. It would be fun to see it. Sometime when you have nothing to do and you have all kinds of time.
I still have everything in boxes like that. I'll have to see. I would love to see it again too.
Of course, I'd like to take a picture of it so that we would have a picture of it at the museum.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll try and find it.
And
then I got an award in high school for a map I had drawn with different things.
Mm-hmm. So you got rewarded for your art skills.
Yes.
Yes, lovely.
Well, and now I'm living at the Schmidt Brewery Artist Lofts.
Are you?
Yes.
So are you still doing any artwork?
I kind of changed my focus because I got married. Mm-hmm. And my one criteria when I was of a marriageable age was that my husband to be not be in business for himself.
Ah.
I'd been there, done that. And
what did you learn about that you didn't want to repeat?
it's feast or famine, and it's hard work
Mm-hmm.
and long hours,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of times you pay the employees and you don't get paid.
Sure.
But it's very rewarding too. So I'm not putting it down. It's
For sure.
just at that point in my life, I said, well, then I married a fine fellow who went in business for himself.
Oh, goodness, no.
So then I ended up being back in business.
Of
And
course.
we were in business. We worked together
Mm-hmm.
from 1968 to 2005.
Oh, my goodness.
And I used some of my skills there.
Mm. Some of your art skills? Or
I
some
did
of your
some
hobbies?
design. I did some
Some
design. Yeah.
I also understand that you've been instrumental in organizing class reunions for years and years.
Well, and that's kind of a fun thing because I didn't graduate. But in the beginning, we had a class reunion every 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And at the second one, well, at the end of each reunion, the committee that did that reunion would stand up and say, the next reunion committee is. So at the second one, I was named to be on this committee. And somehow every committee I was on. And at our 50th, well, before that, we started meeting every year.
Mm-hmm.
And as we dwindled down in number, I kind of was the one that was there. So, and it's been so rewarding.
Well,
My class, I think my class is really special.
absolutely.
And the class of 47 too. We did it together for years.
Yeah, that's absolutely wonderful. To have people be able to share those memories from all those years ago.
Yes.
So then I have sort of philosophical questions at the end.
Oh, do you think I'm up to that?
I do. What lessons do you think your work life taught you?
Well, my children feel that I have given them some real bad problems
Oh,
because they have a work ethic.
mm,
And they don't think I do leisure very well.
I see. You probably haven't had a chance yet.
Well, I'm kind that I stay at something until I figure it out, which can take a long time sometimes.
Well, that's a wonderful attribute to have, I think. So my last question is, how would you like to be remembered?
Well,
I certainly have learned lots from you. You are energetic still to this very day, and I sure have appreciated getting to know you just a little. Thank you for interviewing with me today.
well, you're certainly welcome, and thank you for having me.